Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Mikey Garcia says if given the opportunity, he would rather fight Errol Spence Jr. at welterweight than Vasily Lomachenko. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Also, shout out to my dude Radio Raheem, Seconds Out. The link to their video is in the description box, so make sure you check it out. Mikey Garcia had a media day. He's obviously fighting Sergey Lipinets in a fight that was rescheduled. Supposed to take place in February in San Antonio. Still taking place at San Antonio. Different venue, March 10th. So shout out to all my boxing fans out in Texas. Make sure you guys support. Mikey Garcia will be there March 10th. Now, in this interview, he said some very interesting things, and I want to talk about his quote and then give my thoughts. Mikey Garcia said, "I would rather fight Errol Spence Jr. if he and Lomachenko were on the table or offered to him." He says, reason being, it's a bigger challenge, a bigger weight class. People may not take me serious, but I'm coming to welterweight later. That's gonna happen. Whether it's at the end of this year or next year, I'm coming. I have to get done with these fights first at lightweight and super lightweight, but I'll be at welterweight soon. And if the opponent is offered and presented, I might be there even sooner. I would love the opportunity to fight Thurman or Spence. If you're going to challenge for a championship, you may as well do it against the best fighter. I don't want to take easy fights. I want something that excites me, that motivates me. A title and a big name motivates me. And if Errol Spence Jr. or Keith Thurman, those are the biggest names at welterweight. Mikey Garcia. Now, on one hand, you got to celebrate just what's being told to you and the attitude. But on the other hand, and I love Mikey Garcia. I'm a big fan. Interviewed him before, covered his fights before, stuff like that. On the other hand, I'm not trying to like call his bluff, I guess you could say. Maybe he really does want to go to welterweight. But my whole issue is this. The only issue that I have is, for starters, it doesn't really seem to me to be realistic that in one calendar year, we could possibly see you in 3 separate weight classes. I don't even think that would be good for the fighter, to be honest. You know what I mean? Especially if you're fighting Errol Spence Jr. in the highest weight class that you climb to. So let me put this in perspective. Mikey Garcia is talking about, he's fighting March 10th at 140, a guy with a 70% plus knockout ratio and a new champion, Sergey Lipinets, right? That's happening. That's a thing. That's at 140. Then he's talking about, in this interview, he would love to fight Jorge Linares, right? That would be at 135, where he still has his lightweight title. And then possibly this year, going up to 147 to fight the likes of Errol Spence Jr. or Keith Thurman. You know what I mean? To me, that doesn't really sound advisable, and it doesn't really sound realistic. Now, he didn't say conclusively that that's exactly what's going to happen. He says, I have to get past these fights, boom, boom, boom. So, you know, it's boxing. We got to see. Mikey's definitely a talent. He's undefeated. But I'd have to see that to believe that, because that's a lot of weight classes. And like I said, I can't even imagine that would be advisable, that you're at 140, 135, and then you jump up to 147 to fight the caliber of fighters that are champions like Keith Thurman and Errol Spence Jr., right? That's just my personal opinion. The other thing that makes me raise an eyebrow is, to be honest, Errol Spence, he's the man right now in terms of at welterweight. There's some good fighters there, good fights there for him. I don't think the top level fights like Terrence Crawford, that's a difficult fight for anybody. I think fights with Keith Thurman, you know what I mean? Keith Thurman, despite what you think of him or his recent interviews or whatever, he's still a great fighter, and he still has 2 belts. So there's still some danger, but he's the man. Errol Spence is the man. A lot of people don't seem like they want the immediate smoke with him. So again, it makes me scratch my head and makes me raise an eyebrow when somebody from 135, 140 is saying that they want to travel up and immediately jump into the pool. Especially like I feel like this. Call outs don't really make sense unless you're really trying to get the smoke immediately. You know what I'm saying? That's how I like perceive the whole situation. If you're trying to fight Sergey Lipinets and then drop down to 35, then it's no point to even mention Keith Thurman or Errol Spence, especially Errol Spence, because he's the one that's been mentioned by Mikey Garcia multiple times. That's just how I look at it. Maybe you guys view it differently, but to me, I don't consider that a real and true call out if your immediate plans are not to fight him. For example, Errol Spence is having a Dallas hometown fight. Mikey Garcia is fighting in San Antonio in March, and Errol Spence's comeback fight, his hometown fight, is in June. So realistically, if Mikey Garcia gets past Sergey Lipinets in Texas, then he would have enough time to prepare for Errol Spence in June. Fact. You know what I mean? He would have enough time to prepare if he really wanted to travel up. But he's talking about going back down and then traveling up at the end of this year or maybe next year. So to me, if you plan to come to welterweight, that's fine. But if you plan to come to welterweight at a later date, then to me, I can't take the call out as serious because you're not trying to get the smoke immediately. It's just something in the foreseeable future to you. And that's just kind of how my brain is set up, how I see it. As a fight, Errol Spence, like I said, he's a man. Very dangerous fight for Mikey Garcia. Based on the size differential, I definitely wouldn't advise Mikey Garcia straight away fight a Keith Thurman or Errol Spence like his first fight at 147. That doesn't even seem like it makes sense. So hopefully Big G, Roberto Garcia, his brother, maybe talk to him and acclimate. I would suggest this for anyone. I mean, even like situations like Kell Brook, because if you look at the Kell Brook situation, and I'm not saying Mikey is the same quality fighter or the same fighter as Kell Brook, but I hate saying this because it's like twofold. Some people agree and some people disagree, but I feel I know enough about boxing to know that weight matters. Now, it does and it doesn't, and I'm going to explain the best way I know how. Weight matters to a degree, but it doesn't always matter. Meaning, guys like Floyd Mayweather can totally outclass guys that weigh a lot more than him, like Conor McGregor, Marcos Maidana, Canelo, right? Miguel Cotto, because that's Floyd. And his skill set, his ring IQ, his level of boxing knowledge is up there, greater than his opponent. But size does matter in the event where you're just naturally bigger to that person and the skills, both guys are highly skilled or about the same level of skill. So, for example, Gennady Golovkin is bigger. I don't think he's more skillful than Kell Brook. I don't think as an overall, all-around fighter, he has a defense like Kell Brook. I don't think he moves like Kell Brook. I don't think he's as athletic as Kell Brook. But he's big and he's very good at what he does at a higher weight. So you see Kell Brook versus Triple G, you see how that played out. You know what I mean? You look at Amir Khan versus Canelo, right? Amir Khan's a silver medalist. Canelo didn't go to the Olympics. So from a hand speed perspective and this and that, in and out movement and stuff, faster feet, Amir Khan has those boxes checked. But against Canelo's at the point where he's a very skilled fighter as well. He just doesn't have... He can afford to make mistakes that the smaller guy can't. That's how it goes when guys match up well, or, you know what I'm saying? Unless you're, like I said, on some Mayweather shit and your skills just carry you well beyond fighting the much bigger guy. You know what I mean? And for me, Mikey Garcia is a very talented fighter, and I'm not underrating him or anything, but his MO is kind of basic. Like, he's not freakishly athletic. He's just very textbook, and he does a lot of the right things at the right time. Very good fighter. Timing, great left hook, good combination punching, ring IQ, you know what I mean? But against Errol Spence, who's an Olympian and naturally bigger and going to try to punish you to the body, stuff like that, those are going to be dangerous fights. Either way, like I said, if you're going to fight those guys, I definitely suggest you acclimate to the division and don't do it straight away. We've seen that time and time again. I mean, fuck how much money they're throwing at you. You got to do what's right for your career. Because we know how people act when someone has a loss in the sport of boxing. some people value that undefeated record and stuff like that. So again, I'm not saying Mikey Garcia truly, maybe he really wants to fight these guys, but again, I would say start pumping out the call outs when you're ready to move up. You know what I mean? When it's already a thing. Like Lomachenko is prepared to move to 135 right now, from what I've heard from his team. You know what I mean? So him and Jorge Linares engaging in back and forth banter, even though the fight doesn't look like it's gonna happen, or him and, you know what I mean, Ray Beltran or whatever, and that makes sense because they could fight in the next fight. You know what I mean? If the promotional powers that be make the fight, they can do it. You know what I mean? But if Lomachenko was talking shit to Ray Beltran, but he was planning on fighting 2 more times at 130, then what's the point to even talk shit to Ray Beltran? You know what I mean? Or Jorge Linares, if you're not moving up for the smoke immediately. So that's just my 2 cents. Again, it's a dangerous fight for Mikey Garcia, really, because Errol Spence is a talent, Keith Thurman is a talent, and them guys are going to be bigger than him as well. And you have to acclimate. And like I said, I still have a hard time believing. Seeing is believing. So if I'm proven wrong, then kudos to Mikey Garcia. He's just like even more of a warrior than what he's already displayed. But I have a hard time believing that someone's going to move up and participate in 3 different divisions in 12 calendar months, and they're going to do it at the highest level. You know what I mean? Not really Sergey Lipinets, but if you fight Jorge Linares or Lomachenko, you know what I mean, those are elite names at lightweight, even though Lomachenko hasn't been there yet. And then obviously if you fight Errol Spence at 47, then he's definitely an elite name. Keith Thurman's an elite name. So again, seeing is believing. I'd have to see all that for it to for me to really believe that this is like a thing. So that's just my particular thoughts on it. I mean, kudos to Mikey Garcia for at least Mikey Garcia is talking about fighting Errol Spence. He ain't even in the division, right? You know what I mean? Versus other guys like Keith Thurman, he kind of it sounds like he's putting the Spence fight on the back burner. Oh, you could say his arm, but even beyond that, he doesn't even know how his arm could feel great. His elbow could feel great, and he's still not talking about like anything definitive as to fighting. So I mean, you give Mikey Garcia credit like that, but as I was saying, seeing is believing. If he really wants to fight Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, I'd have to see that. Another thing that's kind of weird too is Terrence Crawford is now moving up to welterweight, and the 2 fought in the amateurs, and it seems like Mikey Garcia would be mentioning Terrence Crawford because Crawford would at least be like, he has more of a lean, wiry frame, and he's already fought him in the amateurs, so he's at least a new welterweight, unlike Keith Thurman fought as high as like 152, 153 and got a stoppage. Errol Spence, I think, fought at like 152 as an amateur or something. You know what I mean? So it seems like Crawford's name would be coming out of Mikey Garcia's mouth too. But maybe he's just focused on the Heyman guys. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Does Mikey Garcia beat Keith Thurman or Errol Spence? Does he get past Sergey Lipinets? Drop all that in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing out. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.